First of all, we're going to go into our Discord community questions, because we do have a Discord community, and we do encourage all of our listeners to just get involved with your project or with the community itself to discuss like what communities look like for them. And so for that community, we will open with our first question, which is, what was your favorite toy as a child?
Yeah, that's a very easy one, Sky. And that was Lego. I'm a builder. I used to want to be an inventor, and I guess yeah, I sort of kept that energy now as an engineer. I mean, I could get lost playing Lego for hours. Get up at 6 in the morning, build a giant train. Like it was really my zone. So there you go.
Did you
I
have
love
like
it.
a major Lego project that you undertook for many weeks as a child, or did you just kind of play in fantasy land like I did? Was it just like new scenarios every day?
No, yeah, for sure. I like the massive projects. Like usually it was like stuff having to do with spaceships and giant, like how do you say, space stations on planets, like that kind of theme. I guess that was my favorite. And also laying train tracks from one room in the house to the other and waking up my parents with like the sirens on the train, and then like serving breakfast on top of the train decks. So yeah, that was definitely one of the more fun ones. But I
You,
guess other than that, also giant spaceships. Yeah,
you had the full immersive experience, it sounds like. I mean, it wasn't just Lego building, it was like, what's going on inside? They're having dinner right now.
That's awesome. Fun fact, and because so I know Florijn and I are just getting to know each other, but I have three sons, and one of them in particular is a major Lego fan and does a lot of the things that you're talking about. But I didn't know this until we have a show called Lego Masters. I'm not sure if it's playing everywhere. But it's all the Lego Masters competing. And on the show, I learned that you're not supposed to call them Legos, you call them bricks. So Lego's the brand, but when you're actually playing with them, they're
uh,
bricks.
Ooh,
I was like,
getting in the
huh, okay.
terminology.
Fun fact.
that's
Did not
true.
know. Did not know. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. No,
But
yeah,
Rachel,
you
I'm gonna
got
let
to
you
be
di-
accurate.
I'm gonna let
yeah,
you dive into that
well,
next one. This is gonna be a fun one to unpack, because
oh,
especially
this will be
because of
definitely fun.
Florijn and who he is, I could
Well, this Discord question is usually my favorite, just because of my personal interests and because of what we were talking about when we were before we started recording. But if you could share your star sign with our listeners.
My star sign is a Leo.
rar.
Do
Or you could be
you
like,
do,
nah, it's a
nah.
banyan, I'm gonna eat it all.
We're an international podcast. Do you feel like, do you know much about it or in general?
I mean, actually, I went to multiple astrology workshops over the past month. Uh, not really by, well, not, I mean, it was my choice, but I sort of walked by, let's say, or I sat in, and I guess I learned some stuff, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what.
Okay, hold for 2 seconds, Rachel. I want you to hold that, because I'm so intrigued by the fact that you're an engineer who probably doesn't give a crap about all this, like alternative things. Maybe you do, but it's interesting because the two do merge, like you were saying before. The technology is coming in with sort of like the ancient sort of just understanding how to build a regular structure. I think that
Mm, mm, mm.
along with the
I think what
engineering,
you're saying now,
yeah,
exactly what you're saying now, is probably going to be like the overarching theme of this talk.
I can't
But I'm
wait.
not sure if we want to dive into it
Of
right now.
course,
But
of
yeah.
course, of course. Yeah, I mean,
Mm,
it's interesting that you're around a lot of alternative people and you influence them with your sort of
for
engineering. Like,
sure.
hey, there's a structure, and they're like, but wait, no, but there's the sky and the earth, and there's your heart in the middle. So, Rachel, go ahead.
Oh
Sorry,
man. Oh
I
man.
didn't mean to cut you
Exactly.
off on your question. So go ahead if you wanted to
No,
expand.
no, no. It's a perfect segue, and we've always let the conversation go where it needs to go because I told Sky before you came on, I've always been very, very partial to engineers, very special place in my heart because my dad's an engineer. And so learning how to work with and live with an engineer, especially one that's constantly calculating, I will say is a special skill. But simultaneously, I was raised very spiritually. My
Mm,
whole family is Buddhist, and there's a lot of meditation, a lot of prayer. My dad practices Tai Chi also. So it's, he's both worlds simultaneously. So it's actually, it's going to be really fun to dive into, I think.
Also, some of our best scientists are spiritual, right? Like Albert
totally.
Einstein was talking about how imagination unlocks like the most genius inside of everybody. So it's interesting, walking two different lines. So we'll move on to the next question. What is your superpower? Dun, 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 dun. I'm just a Leo.
Yes, it's the capacity to sort of how do you say, to pack very abstract thoughts and ideas into simple bits of knowledge, let's say.
I love that.
That definitely hits it on the nail there. That's from our meeting for sure. When I met you in Amsterdam and you took me on that tour, and what I gathered from human beings, which I do gather from human beings in the first 5 minutes as an empath, definitely you are able to hold very large ideas and complex systems, I'd say, and be able to distill them into something that the rest of us can understand in a bite-sized moment.
So given,
I feel like I've put the pressure on for myself now.
no pressure here ever.
There's no pressure.
No,
I mean,
just
no pressure.
authenticity. Just authenticity.
It's just us. It's just human beings having conversations about, what we're doing to further advance humanity so that we can, if everything else fails, basically your solution, smart hoods, what you're talking about, to me, is a solution that we could emerge with if society collapsed. And I love the idea of having people like you on the planet who can help us plan for these, because if everything collapses, you're the first guy I'm going to come to.
Oh wow,
thanks, of how to design my system. So
well, Sky, we have to have Florijn part of the Sheboygan compound now. We'll fill you in on that.
That's a side
we'll
joke.
Fill you in on that.
Exactly.
Okay, so you live in a pretty cerebral space, I feel like, most of the time. So do you have a hobby, a hobby or a creative outlet that you go to decompress?
Well, actually, I mean, it's something that I'm still exploring. Like, what is the best way to sort of calm my mind after I've done like an intense day of working and thinking and meetings and whatever. And I think what works best for me is generally like exercise. So back in the Netherlands, I used to do boxing. Worked really well because it's like everything all at once. It's like stamina, it's agility, it's balance, it's strength, it's focus, it's strategy. Totally gets you in the zone and away from, let's say, the cerebral space. And another thing I've discovered, which it's actually sort of borders on the spiritual way of life that Sky was just touching upon, and that's actually like the Wim Hof breathing. I found it to be very effective to do, let's say, a 15-minute 3-round session. And basically what you're doing is you're choking your brain, like you're tricking your brain into thinking it can hold its breath longer than it actually can. And then you sort of half pass out, but you don't really. And then you get like this giant adrenaline rush, which totally kills any sort of overactivity in your prefrontal cortex and resets your brain. And after that, like poof, you've reached this meditative space, which is actually very good to do at both the beginning and the end of the day. I found like it's really like a sort of like pressing the reset button on your mind, and it both helps me sleep and wake up. So that's one thing I've discovered over the past year that's been really helpful for me.
Breath work. Wow. Love that.
That's awesome.
Breath work is everything. We did that also in the psychedelic, when I did my psychedelic treatment for complex post-traumatic stress syndrome, which has worked wonders. I've told everyone that's close to me knows that I did this, but we did the Wim Hof breathing exercise right before taking the 5 times the amount of truffles that you're supposed to take to go into this like macro experience of facing
Oh my
your
God.
inner
Yeah.
world. But that was amazing. And it's so funny. So, I mean, worldwide, that guy has really touched a lot of souls, Wim Hof, and has really proven to be effective in a lot of people's lives. So maybe one day we'll have him on the show for some breathing exercises, and we won't even have to talk. We'll just breathe through the entire
Would be
hour. It'd
cool.
be great.